Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Kraft. I'd like to talk today about the topic of when people have past life memories or past life regressions involving people like Jesus, Mary, or Mary Magdalene, or any of the characters from that story, from that time. Now, the I said past lives, but technically all lives are simultaneous. They're all happening at the same time. That's not really what this video is about, but I just wanted to make that sort of disclaimer that even though I may use the words past life, just so you know, they're all happening at the same time. But what we are talking about is lives that happened like in the past in our history. So I'm going to begin by sharing a couple of past life memories that I have through these weren't just random memories that came to me. These were actual, they came to me during a past life regression. So many years ago, in approximately 2014, I think it was, it could have been earlier, like 2013. It doesn't really matter the year, but I had a past life regression and I went into the lifetime of Jesus. So I was Jesus in this past life. And in the one of the scenes, I was as Jesus. I was a young boy. I was about 12, and I was wearing a white, um, we would call it like a robe. I think it was made of linen, and on the rim, like the border of this robe, it was golden thread, um, rimming, like lining all of the robe. And so I was wearing that, and I believe like sandals. And I was with a group of older men, like men who had gray hair, and I was a young boy. And we were traveling. We had camels, and we were traveling on the camels. In this scene, we were stopped. We were resting. We were off. At least I was off of the camels. I was off of my camel, and the other men were around. The camels were just, around us and waiting with us while the old men. They were wise men. They were scholars. They were guiding me, and they were taking care of me. And we were traveling, um, far from my home and family. And the hypnotherapist asked me if I missed my family, like if I missed my parents. And I said, no, um, I didn't feel a very big attachment to them, like as a child might miss their family. I didn't have those feelings. I knew what my life was about. I knew that I was meant to be studying. I was studying many things deeply, like languages. And these men around me were my teachers. And they were taking me places where I could learn more. They seemed to know what I needed to learn, where we needed to go. And I trusted them. And they were like family. And I felt very in place. Like I felt exactly like I was supposed to be there, and I knew what I was doing. There was a purpose. I knew I was meant to learn a lot and study a lot. And I knew that I had a big life ahead of me and that I was preparing for it. So we were traveling, like I said, long distances with the camels, and like it was like a path of wisdom, learning things that these men knew that I needed to learn. And the scenes changed throughout this session. Actually became I what I kind of went into becoming other people in that same story at the same time, other names that you would recognize. Uh, Actually, I don't know if it was names or one in particular. I know one. I don't need to mention it. It doesn't really matter. But I went into that lifetime as well as another character, very main character in this story. And I went through a progression of that lifetime as well, concurrently. So Jesus and then this other man that I was. And so then I went, and then years, let's see, yeah, a few years into the future. So we're closing that chapter for that past life regression. A few years later, I had another past life regression. And in that one, I was Jesus again. And this time, I was an adult. I was the adult Jesus who had been put up on the cross and he had been taken down. So he didn't die on this in this version of the story that I went into. And just a little note about that is that there are multiple timelines. You may find other videos on my channel talking about timelines, or you may already know about timelines if you're watching this video. But basically, there's not just one version of you. There are multiple or maybe infinite, because I don't know about infinite. That's just kind of a big number, but it's a lot, let's say, where if you make one decision, you go down that life path, that timeline, and you live out the scenarios that would ensue after that, and you live out those choices. Or you make a different decision in your life, and then you live out that timeline, and so on and so on and so on. So there are multiple Stephanies. I guess there had to have been multiple Jesuses, because if there are multiple timelines playing out with multiple scenarios, then those are parallel universes and parallel selves playing out variations on that lifetime. So anyway, in the one that I went into was totally unexpected. So was the other one. I never expected to go into a lifetime being Jesus as him. So in this one, I was the adult, and he or I had been taken down from the cross. And in this scene, this is graphic, but we know what happened to him on the cross. In this scene, I looked down at my feet, and there was a hole in my foot where the nail had been, and there was like a poultice, I think that's the right word, of like a mixture of herbs that had been put into that hole. So I looked down, I saw it was like a round hole in my foot that went straight through, and it was filled with these herbs that were for healing that wound. This is something I could never come up with in my consciousness as Stephanie. So it was very surprising to like be experiencing this lifetime and this scene and see this. And Mary Magdalene had applied this herbal remedy mixture and put that into my foot, and was taking care of me, maintaining this healing remedy, for me. And that was the scene that I went into first. And then I went into some other sort of scenes that would show me analogies of Jesus as a teacher and things like that. And those scenes became symbolic. But anyway, not to get into the details, but I had those two past life regressions, and I experienced myself as Jesus. So again, as the young boy traveling and learning with the older wise men, and then myself as Jesus having been taken down from the cross, and the wound in my feet, and the healing that Mary was providing for me. And so I want to bring this up because I don't know if I don't know that it matters if I was Jesus or not. uh, because it's irrelevant, because we are all that. This is what I want to talk about in the video. There are people that I see, like on the internet, on YouTube or wherever, claiming or saying that they were so and so, a main character from that story. While that may be true, and while I may have been a soul in Jesus in that lifetime, um, there one person is not that. So let's talk about Jesus to begin with. I did a past life regression. It was a life between lives hypnotherapy session, LBL, we could say. Moving forward, the acronym is LBL. When I did that, I did it with a woman in 2014. And in that session, she went into channeling her soul, which is what those sessions are about. In those sessions, you go into a past life, simultaneous lifetime, and or could even be a future life, future in time, right? Which is more rare, but that's just probably because our consciousness isn't really going in that direction when we do these sessions, but it can happen. So in that, her soul, after the lifetime, the past life we explore, and we cross over to the other side, and then you're in your soul state. And so when she was in her soul state, she was channeling her soul, which knows way more, or, astronomically more than we know through our own human mind in a normal state. So her soul was speaking through her and said that when Jesus was incarnated here, there were multitudes of souls. She gave a specific number. I'm not going to give the numbers today because people like to attach to these concepts. I'm going to explain more about these concepts in a minute and why, it doesn't matter the number, but she gave a specific number of souls that were incarnated in one body to be Jesus. So we all know that Jesus had a big lifetime. We're still talking about him today. It's 2023. And he had a big impact on Earth and humanity. So in his lifetime, in order to carry out such a big story and life and have such a great impact, it wasn't just one soul, it was thousands that were in one body to live that life. So it was a big life, big energy that was required to live that life. Let me just pause the story and talk about souls and what we are in from what I've gathered so far. Just imagine the sun and imagine that that's all souls of existence. And the sun looks like one big mass of light. So we consider that one thing. And it is, we could say, in my analogy, I'm not speaking facts right now. I'm giving an example using an analogy, an idea. And so we can imagine the sun as one ball of light. But if we see rays coming down from the sun, they're not actually individualized specific rays. We could imagine that the light comes out emanating equally outward, but we see it as rays because of the way that the light is refracted in the sky and the clouds. And so we're seeing individualized rays coming down. Sometimes we can see that. So if that stream of light is also considered one thing, we could take that from the oneness into maybe, let's say, a soul family or a soul group, and that would be the ray. But within that ray, if you zoom in microscopically, you can see particles of light, individualized particles of light. And then we see those light particles as being something separate from each other, And so when we zoom in closer, So we see the individualized particles. But when we zoom out, we see a ray. And when we zoom out more, we see the whole sun as one thing. So all that is one thing. We all stem from a oneness. But in order to have individualized experiences as souls, we come in groups, we come in soul families, and that would look like a ray. And along that ray, there are particles of light, and that would be each individual lifetime or soul. But in actuality, there is no separation. It's really all just one thing, and it can be both at the same time, a oneness and an individualized unit of light or a soul. But so while it's both things at the same time, and a lot of people who have near-death experiences, or my clients who have had life between lives hypnotherapy sessions, talk about when you cross over, you can remerge with the oneness and be completely immersed in one, but you retain your individuality. So that means that when you are on the other side, you feel that oneness in totality, and you still feel yourself, and you can pull out of that oneness and still be yourself. So it's both at the same time, and there's technically no separation. And so when someone claims that they were so-and-so, a main character in the story of Jesus, or they had a memory or a past life being Jesus, it doesn't mean that they are the only one. It absolutely, I think, never means that they were the only one. I have several friends who were Sarah, which is Jesus's daughter, one of Jesus's children, multiple throughout my life in the past 20 years or so. Close friends have said, I was Sarah. And I believe them, and I know it's true. But people in this world, in this linear world of separation, don't conceptualize usually that if one person said they were Sarah, how can another person say they were Sarah? Well, it's because of what I'm talking about, meaning that within an incarnation, within a body, there can be multiple of those fractals of light, or those particles of light in a body, because they are living out a story for an experience. They come from the same soul family, typically on that ray, and there are multiple, millions. Let's not put numbers to it, but particles or units or fractals of light that would be considered individualized souls, and they can be in a body. And then in that lifetime as Sarah or Jesus or John the Baptist or whoever we're talking about, Mary Magdalene, that it appears to be one soul, because it's just a person living out a lifetime. But but these particles of light are not stagnant, they're dynamic. And so in the lifetime, in where we are today, we could have people all over the world incarnated with that fractal of light, which is the same one that was Jesus or John or Mary. So we have to expand our mind and not think that something is just one thing. And so when I had my lifetime times as Jesus, it's not that I think Stephanie Kraft was Jesus. I think that multiple things that, um, you know, I could have this could be true for anybody experiencing something like this, that we could be, our consciousness could go into that person and story to be gathering information, attaining a vibration, learning. It doesn't necessarily mean that that person was that person. It could just be visiting that Or it could be that they actually were one of the souls embodied and incarnated in that lifetime. So it's a multitude of things. It's not just one thing. My throat is getting dry talking. So, um, and so when in this life between lives hypnotherapy session in 2014 that I was doing with that woman who described that when Jesus was incarnated, he had tens of thousands of souls in him to live that lifetime. She then said that in this lifetime now, today, and people talk about the second coming of Christ. So it can be the second coming of the Christ consciousness or that energy coming back, but in a broader sense on the planet. So she said that now, today, that tens of thousands of souls that were incarnated to be the entity we know as Jesus or Yeshua ben Joseph, that today the number of souls on the planet is now exponentially greater. So instead of tens of thousands of souls, there are tens of millions of souls with that same energy who were in that body. So let's say there were tens of thousands of souls. Let's say this is one of the souls, right? Like a circle, like this is one of the souls in the body, and there were tens of thousands of them. But in this lifetime, let's say that this one soul fractionated out into like a million, and then they're all incarnated now. And another one of those souls inside of him in that lifetime fractionated out, and there are a million of those, and so on and so on and so on, to make it be that right now there are tens of millions of people who were Jesus. You hear what I'm saying? There may be, in what she said, there are tens of millions of souls incarnated right now who were one of those souls inside of Jesus, but that those light particles can be spread out further and be in more bodies. So we cannot claim that we were someone as if we were the only one. So if you ever hear anybody saying, I was so and so, don't think that they were the only one. There might be a million other people right now alive who could go into a past life regression and live out, experience that lifetime. Or there are, like I have this experience with myself. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Um, Zoom is doing weird stuff that I didn't know about. That I was multiple people in that lifetime. So my soul, got to spread its energy out into multiple bodies, right? But so did millions of other people. I had a client go into a life between lives hypnotherapy session with me, and he was one of the characters at that time. And he said, he was talking about me, Stephanie, you're there and you're Mary Magdalene. So I haven't gone into a past life regression as her, but he saw me there with her. He saw me there speaking to Jesus and being Mary. So we are all really one. We're not just one thing. And our egos don't ever have to attach to any of this, because we're all one. We come here to have multiple experiences, and it's just that. I want to just make sure I'm covering everything along the lines of this topic here before I stop the video. I think I said everything. I think I got my point across. So I don't walk around, thinking like that I'm special because I was Jesus. It's just that also I have heard through these types of sessions in my personal, clients and um, several clients have said this, that Jesus, there's a piece of Jesus in every human. We all have that spark of that Christ, like that is Jesus. That makes so much sense to me because he came here to represent the all, the oneness. And so religion has like brainwashed the minds of humanity to think it's something else, like his teachings or the entity that was Yeshua was something different than what he actually came to be. And so he is in every single person. That's my point. We're all one. We all have that Christ light. Um, you know, even the dark ones, it's according to Jesus, he's in everybody. So whether that light is, manifesting and shining, it's somewhere in there. Um, so I think there was another point that I wanted to say. I think that's what he came here to teach us, the oneness. We are that. We are all that. That was his teaching. Not that he was above us or different, but that light is within us. And I think the realization of that is the second coming of Christ, which is the rise of Christ consciousness, the rise of our consciousness of knowing that we are one, we are that light. And yeah, I feel like there was another thing that I was going to mention. Darn it. And I don't edit videos. I don't even really know how. So I feel like I should probably wrap it up. I feel like, oh, I know. So years ago I think it was like 2007, I think, I had a dream. So I didn't believe in Jesus. I was just not a believer. And in 2007, I had this dream where my spirit guide came to me and said to me directly, it was just the two of us, "You are Jesus." And I said, "No, no. Like, what are you talking about?" I didn't say that, but that was my feeling. And he said, "No, listen, you are Jesus." And I just couldn't believe it. But in that moment, this knowing came to me like, oh my God, it's true. I really am. But knowing that I cannot have my ego attached to this knowing, this cannot be about ego. And I woke up like confused because so I didn't have all of this understanding yet that I'm talking about today. This was 2007. And I was like, how could I be Jesus? It was like confusing to me. So I tried to rationalize it in my mind. Like, okay, well, I'm a healer. He was a healer. I have wisdom to share. He had wisdom to share. I've been through hell, like trauma and terrible things in my life. So had he, and he rose above it. He was a teacher, a way shower. Hey, that's what I am too. I've done that too. Oh, I get it now. Okay, I get it. I am like Jesus. That's what my spirit guide meant. But that's not what he meant. He meant the literal, and he really tried to drill it into me in that dream. And I know it wasn't even a dream, it was like a visitation from my spirit guide. And I knew it, but I didn't accept it when I woke up. I rationalized it and made analogies. Oh, I get it. I'm on the same path. Oh, yeah, I'm on the path that Jesus was on. But he said, no, you are Jesus. And in that dream, I knew it was true. I just didn't want to accept it when I woke up as Stephanie because my mind didn't understand. But in this video, I'm explaining to you how it's true, but it's also true for you. That's the whole point. And so the main message is really the takeaway is if you hear people saying, I was so and so. Don't take it as they were the only one. It, there could be hundreds of thousands or millions of people alive today that lived out that life. All those points of light, fractals of light, particles of light were in that body, right? As that person to live out that story. And now they're incarnated as those fractals or points of light are in many bodies. So I think you got the point. But ultimately, we all come back into that oneness, or we don't come back. We are always that oneness. And we are experiencing individualized experiences of that oneness in multiple forms and multiple vibrations to have multiple experiences. So that's the point. And nobody's ego should ever be involved with, I was so and so. I mean, honestly, I have had many past life regressions, and I have been many extremely influential and famous people throughout history. I don't know why, but meaning it's like, or I should say, I don't know why I went into all those lifetimes, but the point is that we're all of that. We are all of that. And we shouldn't really take ownership of who we were, but we should take what that experience brought us for wisdom that then we can share or be. And it's all for being more and more love, because I think that's the purpose of our lifetime. Our existence is love. So we should always bring it back to that. And yes, we do need an ego to live a lifetime. We have our personality, and we have to have an ego to be individualized and live our life. But I'm pretty sure you get the point, and especially if you're watching my channel, you're already mostly there, where the ego isn't attached to an identity. So that's all I really wanted to say and explain sort of the oneness and versus the individuality, and that who we are as souls. And it's just like we can only minorly understand it from this side, or think we might understand it, even though we don't actually understand it, but we can try. So that's what I'm here trying to disseminate, an idea of what's going on in this way. Okay, everybody, enjoy your day or night, wherever you are. My website is stephaniecraft.com. I do healing sessions. I channel people's higher selves or translate what they're saying. It's not channeling directly. Energy healing, spiritual counseling and guidance, hypnotherapy. Everything is done on the phone. You can be anywhere in the world and do sessions with me, and you can book directly on my website, stephaniecraft.com. And I have some other things that I do. I'll link them all in the description. You can check those out. Okay, bye-bye. See you in another video very soon.